Well, this is the third time I've tried to make this video today. This is the 20th of May, 2026 in the Gregorian calendar, or the 4th of Sivan, 5786 in the Jewish calendar, which is 5,786 days since the birth, not days, but months. Not months, but years. 5,786 months. 5,786 years since the creation of Adam. 5786 for Sivan. The reason I'm making this video is because, first thing, back about January, December, somewhere around there, they put some Google fiber in next door here, and they broke my sprinkler heads. They put it in next door in the neighbors, but they broke my sprinkler heads. They put it on my property. They shouldn't have put it on my property. So that cost me an extra $200 on my sprinkler yesterday when they turned them on. The guy said, "You got two sprinkler heads broken." It was done by the people that put this fiber in, Google, and we broke their line today putting the sprinkler heads back in. That's how we know it was them that did it. And so they owe me $200, and I told my next door neighbor it's not his responsibility. Google's the one that put it in. They said Google destroyed some heads out in some of the front of the people's house too, and they had to replace those, and they paid for them, so we'll see if they pay. There was a guy there yesterday, and I told him when he came out to fix that line so the neighbor could get his TV, the cable line, I told him, and he said, "Well, we'll have somebody call you, so we'll see." You know, I told him, just make sure when they go to put the new ones in, when they go to bury that new line, he says they're coming out in about a week to bury the new line. I said, make sure they don't do the same thing again. You know, he's got it marked there, so they shouldn't, but I hope I'm home when they put those in. And so I should get reimbursed for that. Google should pay for it if they haven't contacted me yet. If they don't contact me, I'll call Shawl Turner at channel 13, tell her what's going on, and maybe she can get it taken care of, because there was a time when they tried charging me for my electric and gas bill $480, I think it was, for 1 month. And it was ridiculous because I don't hardly use any gas or electricity. I don't even use the stove or the oven hardly ever. And she came out to the house and she looked at the thermostat to make sure it was working right. And then there was a bunch of people they did that to, and it was wrong. They shouldn't have done that. And sure enough, the next month the bill was only $150, and after that it was only about $150 a month from then on. Anywhere around there, around $150 for lights and gas. The other thing is, on my car, on my charger that I traded in, now I traded that charger in because the oxygen sensor needed to be replaced, and they wouldn't replace it at Christopher Dodge. That's where I bought the car. I took it out to the place to get the emissions test, and it flunked twice. They said you have to drive it 60 miles. I drove it 60, it flunked again, so I took it down to Christopher Dodge where I bought it. And I said, you know, it needs a new oxygen sensor. I said, no, you just got to drive it 1,000 miles. Well, if I drive it, I can't, at 1,000 miles, I got to get my license, and I need the emissions test. By the time it's ready for the license and I don't have the emissions test done because I haven't driven it 1,000 miles yet, then what do I do? Because I can't drive it to get an emissions test after I don't have a license and the license is up. So I just traded it in. And it was a peach of a car. I've had it painted metallic green. It was a 2019 Dodge Charger, high performance engine. I had the windows tinted. I really had that car nice and had to trade it in. I got $15,000 for it. I wanted 14. They gave me 15 because it was in a pretty good condition. 14,000 miles. So I got that. I got my new vehicle, a 2026 GMC Terrain, and I figured out how to do stuff in that. I got the cruise control. I was they got a lever in there for the cruise control that you pull down on, and I thought you were supposed to press on that, because the ones on the right you can press in on. It's the exact same lever, only you can press in on it. And I thought, what is it, broke? If finally I pulled down on it. Oh, it's a lever. It goes down. So I got my cruise control. That's the main thing I wanted working in that thing because, you know, when you drive with your cruise control, you don't get any speeding tickets. And the other thing was I got a USB-C to USB-C cable orders for the my MP3 player, and I got that ordered for that so I can play there. But when I was at the place, I got the windows tinted today in that thing, and I was down there, and the guy was real smart. And he made us say, "Why don't you just, if you want to play your music," he said, "you can always Bluetooth it." And I got to thinking, yeah, I could Bluetooth I was trying to Bluetooth my MP3 player to the vehicle. But what I did, after I got in there, I started thinking, because I had them all there to play, listen while I was waiting for it to get done, I Bluetoothed my MP3 player to my phone. And then when I got in the vehicle and I put it on Apple Music, it played all my songs on my phone. It was real nice. But there's a problem with that. I don't know on my phone how to make them consecutive A through B like that. It plays them randomly, and I like them A through B so I can go down and this is the song I want. And so if I stop on this song, it goes on, it plays this, and you know, I can hear all my songs I want consecutively like that. I like it consecutive. And then another good thing is, I got my windows tinted like I said. They let Tina P, they're going to let her out on the 1st, and they're really getting down on Jared Polis, on Governor Polis, because he let her out. He did the right thing. I've been getting down on that governor quite a bit, because he's gay, he's married to a man, but he did the right thing with her. He did the right thing. He's compassionate, because she was 70 years old. She should have never been locked up in the first place. The Democrats said she committed a crime. The Republicans say she didn't. And the vice president is working on a program where he can get her some money for recompensation for her being locked up like that, because it was wrong. Her incarceration was wrong. Now, oh, by the way, on that emissions test, the red states don't require emissions tests anymore. The blue states do. And this is a blue state. You know, and they should do that emissions test instead of doing it by, like you have your car for 7 years, you got to get an emissions test every other year. It shouldn't be that way. It should be how much mileage you have on the car. Because that's more fair. If it's by mileage is what causes the car to wear, not just sitting around. So it should be by mileage, but it's harder to do by mileage. And this is a blue state. It's the government, and they don't want to do it right. They'll just do it any way they can to get your money, you know, and to get you to trade your vehicle in and get a new one. See, that's what that's all about. Because here, you buy a new vehicle after about 7 years, you got to get an emissions test on it. Now my truck's passed all its tests, and it's a 2018. But my Charger, that was its first test, and it wouldn't pass it. I'll tell you why. Because I had it into Christopher Dodge. They did a recall, and they disconnected the battery because I told them to check the electrical system because the batteries were running down. I had to replace 2 batteries. And, you know, that was ridiculous. And so they said there was nothing wrong with the electrical system, but they disconnected the battery either when they did the recall or when they did the testing the electrical system. And by doing that, that's what caused that oxygen sensor not to function. That's why the guy says you got to drive it another 1,000 miles. Well, how? Driving in 1,000 miles, I couldn't do that and have it, because by the time I get done with 1,000 miles, it's way past the time that my license is due. And then, how am I going to get it in there for an emissions test? Because I can't drive it legally on the street without a license. So, what else is it? I said Tina Peters got released. And they're getting down on Governor Polis, saying they want to give him, the Democrats in the state, they want to impeach him, Governor Polis, for doing that. And see, that's wrong. That's wrong to do that. Just like it's wrong for the emissions tests. The red states don't have to do emissions tests. The blue states do, because the blue states are Democrat. Any way to get your money. Any way to get your money. But I'm all for MAGA, Make America Great Again. God bless President Trump. God bless the Republican Party. And I hope the Democrats get their stuff squared away and we get this into a red state. Like it was when Governor, what was his name? Owens. Governor Owens was in here. God, it was a good state then. You ask people that lived then, they'll say, oh yeah, it was pretty good when Governor Owens. Yeah, it was. There was hardly any crime or disasters or stuff that cost you money.